In a distant and wondrous country, a grand royal ball is about to take place. The king announced, "Who can jump to the highest heights at a ball will win the favor of the princess, and can marry a princess, and live a life of honor and wealth." This news is like wings. It quickly spread throughout the kingdom. A grasshopper heard the news. He proudly raised his slender tentacles. "I thought to myself that I was a natural high jumper. There's no obstacle in this bush that I can't jump over. This princess must be in my bag." He showed off his strength with his powerful hind legs. At the same time, a flea. He's in the corner. Greedy light shines in his eyes. That's the crowning glory. "Although I am small, but I am not bad at jumping." And a Danish toy jumping moth. It was originally placed in a child's toy box. When I heard the news, its body trembled slightly. It was as if a force had been awakened. I was treated like a toy. This I might have to prove myself. Game day, the palace is brightly lit, resplendent. People came from far and wide to surround the arena. Everyone wants to see this intense high jump competition. First on the field are the fleas. He's standing at the jump-off point taking a deep breath. And then you give it a big kick. Like a small black meteor. He jumped out with a whoosh. He jumps very high, so that he was invisible at first. After a while he just fell down gently like a feather. There was an exclamation from the crowd. And here comes the grasshopper. He walks up to the jump line with confidence, front and rear legs bent. Then you hit it hard. The whole body shoots into the air like an arrow. He drew a line in the air. The graceful arc is taller than a flea. The grasshopper triumphantly waves its tentacles in the air. And finally the Danish toy jumping moth. It stood there silently, and everyone looked at me with suspicion. I think he's just a toy. However, just as everyone was talking about it, jumping moth suddenly moved hard. His otherwise rigid body. It was like being infused with a magical force. He leaps high. That's higher than a grasshopper or a flea. He stayed in the air for a moment. The sun shines on him, making him look like a knight. The results of the competition were judged. Although the fleas jumped high, but it jumps too stealthily. It is difficult for people to accurately judge its height and the grasshopper, despite his remarkable jumping skills, but still a bit inferior. And the Danish toy jumping moth with his amazing jumps won the game. The princess smiled and walked towards the jumping moth. He put the wreath in his hand, on the head of the jumping moth. The jumping moth trembled with excitement. The grasshopper sees this result. He muttered reluctantly how this was possible. "I am a real high jumper." Then he jumped back into the grass angrily. The flea slipped away quietly. He feels ashamed to be here anymore. He hid in a dark corner. And the jumping geese. He followed the princess into the magnificent palace. In the palace, and he lived a life of honor. But over time, the jumping goose discovers that the princess is beautiful and noble, but his heart was cold. Life in the palace is luxurious, but it makes the jumping geese feel extremely lonely. He began to miss the days he used to be in the toy box. It was simple then. But there is warmth. One day, Geese jumped. While the guards weren't paying attention, secretly left the palace. He crossed the busy street, returning to the small courtyard that once belonged to him. When he saw that again, some familiar toys and the children who once had him, his heart was filled with joy. Jumping geese understood. True happiness does not lie in fame or status. It's about inner contentment and inner freedom. Decided to stay here from now on. With these toy friends. Spend ordinary and happy times. And the story of that high jump competition, it has also become a legend that will be passed down forever in this kingdom.